Right then. Hello, everyone. Are we live? Can you see me? Can you hear me? This is our first time broadcasting live to YouTube. So tell me if you can see me, hear me, all the things. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Money Mechanics Challenge. We're just going to give it a minute or two to get everybody in. You can see me, right? Because I've seen your... No? I can see your comment. Sometimes it's like a 30-second delay. Let's see. Are we on? Yay, we are on. Happy days. Welcome one and all to the Money Mechanics 5-day boot camp. So this week is going to be so much fun. There's loads of you on here. Amazing. The numbers have just jumped up. This is so cool. If you're here and you can hear me and see me, just say hello in the comments so I can see who's here hanging out with us, so I can welcome you all. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Laura. Hello, Shamila. Love this, love this, love this. How's your day been? Have you had a good day? Tell me if you've done task 1 yet. Some of you I know are leaving it until the end of the day so that you can do this session and do it after, which is fine. Hey, Tina. Hey, Timothy. Hello, Zoe. Hello, Jason, Dion, Rosemary. Bloody hell, there's loads of you. This is so exciting. So if you've done task 1, stick in the comments, task 1 done. If you haven't done it yet, don't panic. It's all good. Just stick that you're going to do it tonight so that I know what we've got going on. Hey, Trudy, long time no see. Hello, hello. Hello, Natasia. Hello, Bruce. Where in the world are you all? That's something else I'd love to know. Where in the world are you? There's a lot of people in England here, I know, but have we got anyone else from overseas? Have we got any Irish crew in? The Scottish crew in? Where is everybody? So there's a few of you doing it tonight. This is good. We've got a few of you that have done it. Excellent stuff. Great. Great. Northamptonshire, amazing. Kings Road Fashions are here. I'm Northamptonshire crew. Southampton, Switzerland. Timothy's coming in from Switzerland. That might be the furthest away person. Is anyone further away than Switzerland? We've got Blackburn, we've got Southampton. Love this. Leicester. Amazing, amazing. London, Devon, Liverpool. Amazing. Well, welcome everyone to the 5-day Money Mechanics boot camp. I have been thinking about doing this for a really long time, right? I launched the book back in September 2023. And before I actually let the book go live, I thought about doing this week as a 5-day challenge, because we've run these 5-day challenges before in other parts of the business, and they've always been really successful for helping people to actually take action and do the thing that they're supposed to be doing, right? So this has been an idea in my head for a long time, and here we are making it happen. So first of all, thank you to you all, because this would be no fun without all of you here. So thank you very much for being here and for trusting in me this week to bring some change into your life and to help you just understand your money that little bit better. So there's some core things that I want to cover tonight, and I'm probably going to keep you online for about an hour each evening. So we're probably going to run this till around 6 o'clock, and I'm going to be able to answer some questions as we go. I can see all of your comments. So as you're typing in on YouTube, I can see you. I can see who's talking to me, and I can read your questions. So we'll probably do questions closer to the end, because there's some core things I want to get through first to really cement today's task and explain it a bit better, so you've got some context around some of the things and how to do it and how to make the most of it. And then I'll answer the questions at the end. So do you know there's like 400 of you registered for this, which is just amazing. I'm joined tonight by my trusty helper, Shamila, who is here. You won't be able to see her, but she's here. And she'll be also keeping an eye on the comments and the questions to make sure that we don't miss anything. And she'll also be sharing. Inevitably, I will say something like, we need a link to something, and she will be the one that will be posting it. So look out for comments from Shamila. She will be able to get you all everything that you need. Yeah, 400 of you. This This is awesome. So many of you have WhatsApped me today. It's been a pleasure chatting to loads of you. I have had a very busy WhatsApp afternoon. And just to confirm, you are actually chatting to me on WhatsApp. It is me typing the responses. Try not to make loads of spelling mistakes because my nails are too long for typing. But it's been a great day, just connecting with loads of you, finding out a bit more about what you're doing. And I just really wanted to say, before we kick into this, as you guys get the WhatsApp in the morning, if you want to reply, if you've got a question, if you need just a bit more context around anything that we do this week, I've basically blocked out my week almost, not the whole week, but most of the week to just be responding to these questions. So I'm on WhatsApp, I'm there, I can support. Please do ask me anything that you want to ask me throughout the course of the week, because that's really what's going to help you to progress. I always tend to think that if you've got a question, probably other people have got that same question. So by asking those questions, it helps me to then tailor the content in the training all of the evenings throughout the week. So make sure you're talking to me about that, and it will just help me to deliver the best possible week that I possibly can. Another couple of little announcements before we kick into this. You still can upgrade to the VIP. It's not too late. There's a couple of people messaged me late today. The first VIP session is going to be tomorrow, and there's going to be another one on Thursday morning. But those sessions will be recorded. So even if you can't come on them live, we're going to do tomorrow's session. It's going to be all about budgeting, how to create a budget. I'm going to show you how to use our budgeting tool that we created when we launched Money Mechanics. And the one on Thursday is going to be a real deep dive Q&A where you'll be able to come on Zoom and actually talk to me face to face or screen to screen about your situation and what help you need and so on. So if you want access to those 2 additional trainings, and there's also an ebook as well that I've written that you'll get a copy of as well as a VIP. If you want to upgrade to VIP, Shamilah is going to put the link in the chat. There's still time. Obviously, the first session's tomorrow. So if you're going to do it today so that we know who we've got working with, and then we can make sure that you get everything that you need ready for tomorrow. So please make sure that you do that as soon as you can. The other little announcement is that we're running a social media competition. Now, obviously, you guys know me. You know I use the socials and I love a bit of social media. We are not going to ask you to share anything private, confidential, or to do with your personal finances, right? That is not what this is about. I don't want you to be publicly declaring stuff that you feel is private. You don't have to do that. What I'd really love to do, though, is spread the word of what this challenge actually is helping you to achieve in terms of progress or learnings or lessons. So we're going to run a social media competition. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to each day this week is to just put online, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, wherever you socially hang out, what's been your biggest lesson that you've taken out of either the challenge, the task itself, or the live sessions with me. Might be a selfie with us on the training tonight, might be a selfie of you, might be just a text. It doesn't really matter what type of post it is. If you use the hashtag Money Mechanics Bootcamp, Money Mechanics Bootcamp, all one word, and you tag me in, so obviously that I see it, at the end of the week, we are going to draw a winner of the best post. And there's a cheeky little giveaway that I'm going to share with you guys as a thank you, because this is the first one of these. I want to do more, obviously. And in order for us to spread the Money Mechanics vibes far and wide, people need to know what we're doing here, right? So it'd be lovely and really helpful if you could share your biggest lesson, share what you're taking out of this week so that people want to join when we do it again. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but we will, I'm sure, do another one next year. So VIP upgrade, there's still some time, and social media competition, hashtag Money Mechanics Bootcamp, and make sure you tag me so that I know that it's there. Otherwise, I won't know. So tonight we're going to be talking about your financial snapshots. Let me ask you a question. How was today? How was the experience? Those of you that haven't done this yet, obviously you haven't done it yet, but those of you that have done it or are in the middle of doing it, how did you find the process of doing your financial snapshot? Was it hard? Was it easy? Did you have the information available? Was it a bit uncomfortable? What happened? And remember, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just where we are. It's just a starting point, right? And I want you to understand, all of you, that it doesn't matter where you're starting from, as long as you know where you're starting from. Back in 2015, when I did this task, it was, I don't know what the best word is. I felt sick. It was horrible. I didn't enjoy it. And I know today's a really hard task. And there'll be loads of people that have registered for the challenge that see this task and freak out and don't do it. But the problem is, when you don't really know where your money's going, there's no way of fixing it. So, there's a few of you, I can see the comments in here, sobering. It was okay. It was, for a lot of you, it was fine. A couple of you a bit emotional about it. It's uncomfortable sometimes. Not for everybody, but for some of us it was. And for me, when I did mine back in 2015, it was sobering is probably a pretty good word. I thought I was all right. I thought it was all right. Like, I'd be fine. Be fine. I kind of know what's going on. And actually, I hadn't realized just how much money was hemorrhaging out without me really realizing it. And for a lot of us, I was definitely avoiding it. So I'm guessing there's probably people that you probably know you could have looked at it sooner, but we don't, because we avoid what is uncomfortable, right? We don't want to do the thing that's going to actually tell us that we're not doing the right things or not doing the things that we could be doing. So, yeah, and I think I talked about this quite a lot in the book. For those of you that haven't ordered a copy of the book yet, Shamila can stick a link into the chat. It's called Money Mechanics. And actually, I talk in the book a lot about my personal experience of the journey that I've been on with money. And one of the things that I talk about in the book was doing my financial snapshot task. Because all of the debts that I thought I was on top of, I wasn't. All of that like random spending that we have, when you like stop at the shop on the way home from work and you grab a pint of milk and actually you spend 40 quid, like those sorts of things were laid out in front of me, and you can't hide it, right? Once it's there, once you can see it, you can either ignore it and just go back to the way you were, or you can activate change and you can do something different. And we start here this week because actually it's one of the hardest parts of the whole process. Making momentum towards your financial future has to start somewhere. We start with this slightly painful task because when you know where you are right now, it allows you to move things forward. It allows you to progress. It allows you to change the trajectory of what you're doing. So, well done. First of all, if you've done today's task, a little round of applause to all of you. If you're in the middle of doing it, also a little round of applause. For those of you going to finish it by the end of the day, well done. I'm sending you a round of applause for later on once you've finished. Ultimately, this is the first part of what is a 5-step process this week. And the way that I've structured this week is very aligned with the journey that I've been on with my own finances. So I'm going to take like 5 minutes for those of you that have, in fact, let me ask you a question. Have you seen me speak before? Has anyone on here ever seen me speak before? I'm guessing there's definitely some of you. I can see some names here that I recognize. So there's definitely some of you. Has anyone never seen me speak before? Am I brand new to you? That would be interesting to know. Have you heard of me before this? Have you seen me speak? Am I brand new, or am I like an old hat now? An old hat? Is that something you say? I don't know if that's the grammar, is it? Am I an old hat? I don't want to be an old hat. I'd like to be a new hat. So there's a few of you that have seen me before. Amazing. There's a few of you that are brand new as well. Amazing. Okay, cool. So literally 5-minute whistle stop, because a lot of you will know me from the property space and you'll know my journey from the property side of things, but maybe you'll be less aware of what my money journey has been like and what's led me up to really writing the book, launching this, and doing the work that I do a lot of now. So in 2015, I got married in the September. Actually, it was my wedding anniversary last week. And at that time, we were about £60,000 in debt, and it was a combined effort. Not a good effort, but it was a combined thing of like overdrafts, credit cards, loans, you know, all bad debt. Not really any of it working for us at all. And you know, that didn't include my mortgage that I had on my house, so I don't include that in there. The only things that were included in that 60,000 were money that just wasn't, you know, working for me in any way, shape, or form. And I'd managed to get in that pickle because when I went to university, actually, I didn't have a clue about money, how it worked, what it did, you know, how expensive it was to borrow it. I didn't really know that when I was getting my student loan and my, you know, overdraft they were throwing like credit cards at me as a student, that I was going to have to pay that back. And I know that sounds probably a bit stupid. Like I now think, well, why didn't I know that? Why? It seems obvious if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. But I genuinely just didn't realize how much money it was going to cost me to borrow all that money. And I've still never done the calculation of the amount of money I've paid in interest for borrowing, because I think I'd cry. So I've never done it, but it's been a lot, right? I had a lot of 0% credit cards, which ran out and then clicked over into like 18%. I had lots of credit cards which had really high interest rates, but I wasn't clearing the balances every month. So actually it was just compounding over time. My overdrafts, when I was a student, my overdrafts were free to have. And then, you know, they racked up and they kept adding to my limit. And it was like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds in overdraft facility. And then when I wasn't a student anymore, they applied interest to that. And it just all got a bit out of hand. So from that point onwards, I really struggled to kind of make everything make sense. And I always worked really hard. Like I've had a job since my 15th birthday. I've never not worked. I've had a good career progression. Like I've done all the things that you're supposed to do, right? I worked hard. I got a degree. I got a job. I got a promotion. I did all the things that we're supposed to do. And by the time 2015 hit, I was still in loads of debt. I'd had a business that was struggling as well. It mixed into that. But the business part was only a small part of that. A lot of it was festival tickets on the plastic, having a bit too much Jack Daniels and buying rounds of drinks for friends and, you know, spending money on things that I absolutely shouldn't have been spending money on. It was like this weird phase of my life. I just didn't think about money. And I guess for a lot of us, we have that period when we're young, right? We don't really think about the consequences of other things. So when it got to like 2014, 2015, I sat and did this financial snapshot task. And it was painful because not only was it costing me a fuck ton of money, I also had no idea what I was going to do to fix it. Because what do you do when you don't understand how money works? You're in loads of debt, it's costing you a fortune, but no one's ever sat you down and taught you how to fix it. At school, I wasn't taught. At university, I wasn't taught. The people around me in my life weren't really, you know, wealthy people who could also teach me. I just had no influences around me that were good with money. Like most of my friends also had credit card debt and loans and overdrafts. And, you know, we just lived in our overdraft. It was just very normal. And one of the things I talk about in the book is like the different mindsets around money. And one of the things I say in the book is if you grow up in a household where you all do skydiving, the chances are that you're going to end up skydiving. If you all horse ride, you're all going to end up horse riding. Well, if you grow up in a household where everybody's in debt and all your parents' friends are in debt and having credit card debt is just the norm, well, the chances are that that's going to be your trajectory, right? And I think it's so hard to get out of that pattern because nobody is teaching us as kids, nobody's teaching us as young adults, nobody is putting the effort in to actually help us to become better with money. So that's the mission that I'm on, basically. That's the whistle stop tour. There's no like sob story here. It's just I spent more than I made. I spent it on shit I didn't need, often to impress people that I didn't even like, or to spend time with people that I really couldn't stand. And it just was this like cycle of never ending money. It was only when I started to really do the research and, you know, when we got married, we decided that a new chapter needed to start. Like we couldn't live our life like that forever. You know, I just couldn't cope with, I'd love to do that, but I can't afford it for the rest of my life. Like, that couldn't be a thing for me. So we decided we were going to do something different. And I made it my mission to learn about money, to learn how I could actually make a bit more of it, to learn how I could utilize it better, to learn how I could start investing. And actually, that was a big goal of mine. I wanted to get to that investment piece as quickly as I possibly could. I wanted to clear all of my debt. I wanted to stop hemorrhaging money in interest rates and all of this sort of stuff. And actually, from the week, like, we got married in September 2015 and we went away in October 2015. It was in that week that I decided that we were going to make a change. So from the October, November 2015, it took me 23 months to clear my £60,000 debt. And that was through a combination of stabilizing my income, earning a little bit more through things like, you know, I got a lodger. That was one of the things that I did. I didn't want to do that. Like, God, sharing my house with a stranger was one of the worst things, but it meant I could do the overall goal, which was to clear my debt. I was going to do everything it took, everything I could, to be able to get myself in a position where I didn't have that £60,000 debt. I didn't go out as much. I didn't completely stop going out. I wish I could say I did, but I totally didn't. I still went out a little bit. I still probably had a bit of random spending. I definitely did have a bit of random spending, but I tried to be more aware of it and more conscious of it and more intentional with it. So I did, for 23 months, I worked my arse off. I stabilized my income. I learned how to recover from debt properly. I learned how to make sure I wasn't relying on debt to live, which is what I had been. And I know for some of you, that will be where you sit. You know, it's just where you are. It's not right or wrong or good or bad, right? It's just where we are today. And once I'd learned how to not rely on debt to live, then I could prepare for investment. I could prepare for future financial growth. I could prepare for the lifestyle that I wanted. But it's not until you do those base things that you can then start to move forwards. And actually, that's what this challenge is all about, right? It's about working out where we are today, which is the task today, your financial snapshot. And over the course of this week, there's 4 other tasks and 4 other training sessions where we're going to layer in from stabilizing income, recovering from debt, making sure that we are prepared for investment before we begin investing, so that you feel more confident with your money's making more sense, and it lasts longer, right? That's the ambition for me this week, is to make sure that you guys finish the week knowing how to make your money go further, right? How does that sound? Is that going to be a useful tool for you to all have? I'm hoping so. Otherwise, we're probably in the wrong room, right? So just to recap, there's going to be a task each day, which will come through to you on WhatsApp. We'll do a training session like this each evening. And as long as you follow the process, there's really no reason why you shouldn't get the same results. Because I've done it now for nearly a decade. And that intention that I set in 2015, which was to learn everything I could about money, I'm still learning everything I can about money all of the time. Now, I have the basics, and it's what the book is about. And that's actually what the challenge is about this week. We're going to be covering off the core money mechanics framework so that you've got it for those baseline things. Once you've got all of those things in place, actually the world's your oyster. But you have to continue to learn. Your mindset needs to be right. Your education needs to be right. You need to take advantage of all the things that are out there and available to us. Things like compound interest actually is available to normal Joe Blogs public. You don't have to be a banker to benefit from that. You know, there's all these things, and we're going to talk about this a lot this week. But tonight is all about your foundations, right? So some of the core questions that I've had through on WhatsApp today are around what is income? What is defined as income? What is an expense? What's defined as an expense? What is debt, and what are assets? And how do you ultimately work out what your current net worth is? So how many of you, and you don't have to tell me what it is, you can tell me if you want, but how many of you have worked out your current net worth as you sit here today? And again, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It just is where you are. So don't worry about what the number is. But how many of you have actually worked it out? So some of you, good. Excellent stuff. Okay, cool. So a load of you have. Good. There's a few of you that haven't, but that's fine. So what I want to do is run through why there's so much value in you knowing your numbers, right? And this is the starting point for all of this. What is income, first of all? Okay, so income, for some of you, income is like your wages, in which case it's actually quite easy and simple to say my income is the money that I earn. But even in your wages, I had like 6 or 7 people message me back this morning on WhatsApp and say, do I put down my net income or do I put down my gross income? And actually, that's a really important question. So your gross income is like your £30,000 a year wage, or your £50,000 a year wage, or a 20 grand a year wage. But you don't get all of that, right? Because you've got national insurance that you pay, you've got your tax that you pay, you've got a student loan that you pay, if you pay it. So when you're looking at income, when we're starting to really look at our financial snapshot, and this feeds into obviously the tasks over the course of this week, knowing your income and expenses is a really important part of the next 2 tasks. So really what we're looking at here is your net income, the actual money that physically lands in your bank each month or each week or each quarter, depending on how you get paid, right? So your wages might be £30,000 a year, but you're not going to get £30,000 a year in the bank. So there's no point in budgeting for £30,000 worth of spending because you're not going to have it all, right? So what you've got to do is actually look at your net income, the money that physically goes in the bank. There's some people here saying, I hate the tax man. I hear you. I hear you. It's about being tax efficient, right? We've all got to pay tax because it's what pays for the system. And I don't mind paying tax into the system that pays for, you know, my niece to go to school and hospitals and stuff like that. But we want to be as tax efficient as we can be. I totally get that. So your income, what I really want you to put in here is your actual net income. And for some of you, you'll like, let's say you've got a sales job where you have a base and then you have an unpredictable bonus or commission structure. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you run a business and you pay yourself like the threshold. I think it's £758 at the moment. So you pay yourself a threshold, but then you have a dividend that's unpredictable. You don't really know what it is. Or maybe, you know, you're a sole trader and, you know, some months you earn £1,000, other months you earn £5,000, other months you earn £6,000. It just really depends. What's a really good starting point on this is to look at what is the most consistent. So if you know that as a baseline, you earn £1,000 a month, but sometimes you earn 2, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's more, then start with your baseline and have that as your actual set income. And then have a second line in your income sheet that is your like variable income. So what this allows you to do is then if you add or take away your variable income, you've still got that baseline that you can work from. And you'll be able to see really clearly whether the baseline is enough or whether you really do need to earn more, right? And so your income is everything as well. So it's not just wages from a job. It could be, you know, maybe you sell stuff on Vinted and you're averaging £50 a week on Vinted. Put it in there. Maybe you are renting out your parking space on something like Just Park. If you're not doing that, by the way, highly recommend. There's an app called Just Park and you can rent out your driveway while you're out at work. Just a little bit of extra cash, right? Income. If you're someone who has already got stocks and shares or dividends from shareholderships and you're getting that regularly, put that in there as income. If you've got a lodger, put that in there as income. If you're somebody who's got like a buy-to-let portfolio and you get an income from your buy-to-lets every month, put that in there. Think about all of the different layers of your income, all of the ways that money is coming towards you, all of the ways that you're receiving it, right? That's what goes into your income. So it's not just your wage, it's everything that you're doing that could potentially add money into your bank account. That's what needs to go under your income lines, right? In terms of your expenses, again, expenses is everything. So we've got our core expenses, which is often, so our core expenses are often the figure that's used for the term financial freedom, right? You won't hear me talk about that probably ever again. You'll never hear me say that because I don't particularly enjoy it as a sentence or a name or a phrase. I don't mean, what's the words I'm looking for? Phrase, maybe? I think that's what it is. The way that the industry generally defines financial freedom. It's that you've got enough income coming into your life to cover your core expenses without you having to trade time for money, right? That's generally it. So core expenses is the first layer of this: mortgage, rent, car finance, if you've got car finance, food, petrol, like all the stuff that has to be paid for. Children's school fees, if your kids go to private school, all of the things like your electric, your gas, your water, all of the things that actually, if you take one of those things away, we don't function anymore. That's your core expenses. But they're not our only expenses. And this is where a lot of people fall down in their finances, because they put in all their core expenses and they know what their financial freedom figure is, but they don't factor in actual, like, real life random expenses. And it's real life random expenses that will write you off easy, right? If you don't pay attention to it, right? Things like random spending. When you go to, my best friend Emma and I went to Aldi's the other day, and I can't remember what Emma went in for now. One thing, Doritos, right? Went in for tortilla chips, Doritos, and spent like 30 quid. I went in for some mince and some pasta and I spent 40 quid. That is a random expense. But they're the things that what most people don't put into their expenses sheets. They don't really pay attention to it. And actually, they're the things that will push you over your budget all the time. It's the things like, if you're somebody that works near a Marks and Spencer's, you probably go into Marks and Spencer's and buy a meal deal at lunchtime, which is what, like 7 quid now? 7 quid. I'm asking Shamila because she goes to Marks and Spencer's and buys a meal deal every day. Not every day. Some days she brings her own. £7 for a sandwich, a drink, and a bag of crisps. Actually, £7 over a week, 5 days, 40 odd weeks of the year, that adds up. But we don't always put it into our expenses because it's like a random spend. So when we're looking at our expenses, what I really want to make sure you've done, and it's so important, I want to make sure that you've put those random expenses in as well, like the odd things that come in. Now, this is not like your emergency expenses. Like, I had a flat tire on Thursday. It's going to cost me 100 and something quid for a new tire, right? That's not an expense. That's like an emergency fund thing. And we're going to talk about that later in the week. So it's not for today. But these are the expenses that we spend on stuff that either is essential or is what would be deemed as like a random expense, right? Now, your financial snapshot today, there's 2 layers to this. Your income and expenses, this is about your cash flow, how money is coming and circulating in your world. Then you've got your debt and your assets, and this is about your net worth and how your current, like what your current value is as a person in terms of not your actual value, but your financial net worth value, right? Your income expenses is actually, the information there is to inform later on in the week. But knowing what your current net worth is allows you to then put the work in to get it to where you want it to be, to make sure that you're not staying where you currently are. So your net worth, basically, in very simple terms, and again, this is in the financial sheet, is you take all of your assets and all of your debts, and whatever money's left after you use all of your assets to pay back your debt. So if you took let's say you owned houses, you take all of your houses and you sold them all, you cleared all your debt, what's left, right? That's your net worth. And again, for some of you, this will be a minus number right now. That's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is where we are. It's just the starting point. So don't panic or worry about that, right? But it is a good activity for you to do to know what your net worth is, because then every month you can track this, and every quarter you can track it, and every year you can track it. And actually, when you do track it and you see it going up, it feels great. It feels really good. But you can't get that same result. You can't feel that same result if you're not tracking it, right? If you're not actually watching it. So it's important that you figure it out. So what is a debt and what is an asset? Now, this is a debate, let's say. Not everybody agrees on this, interestingly enough. And I know that because I did a TikTok on this not that long ago. And I got absolutely hounded by people that totally disagree with me on this. But I think it's very simple. A debt is something that drains your resources to have it. And an asset is something, or a liability, i.e. debt. A liability is something that drains your resources to have it, and so debt. An asset is something that adds to your resources to have it, right? It adds to your value, adds to your bottom line, adds to your cash flow, adds to your worth when you have it. So and again, I've written a whole chapter in the book about this. If you've not read the book yet, Shamila, stick the link in for anybody who wants to order a copy. If you can order it on Amazon, by the way, if you want to, or if you order it through this link, I'll sign it for you and we'll post it out. If you want to listen to it on Audible, you'll have to get it through Amazon because it's on Amazon Audible as well. So I don't believe that the house that we live in, if we own it, is an asset. I believe that that is a liability, because it physically drains our resources to live in that house, because we've got an interest rate, we've got maintenance to do, we've got roofs to fix, fences to paint, patios to redo, we've got walls to paint, there's all this sort of stuff, and that all costs money. We've got electric bill, we've got a gas bill, we've got all the things. Now, there is an argument that if you're renting a house, all right, you're not paying for all those things, and arguably people would say that owning a house versus renting, actually that is an asset in comparison. And I kind of get that school of thought. But for me, I believe that the house I live in is a liability. It drains my resources to have it. And so I'm always trying to think, well, how can I create another asset in my world that pays for that liability to exist? So for me to live in my house, it costs me, my mortgage is about £1,100 a month. Well, what assets can I have elsewhere in my life that pay me £1,100 a month so that I don't have to drain my own resources to have that asset, right? But for this activity, what we're really talking about is trying to help you to, again, have a line in the sand from where you are now to where you want to be. I know when I first did this, my debt was way higher than I thought it was. And I'd be interested to know, and again, you don't have to share this, but if you're willing to, I'd be interested to know how many people are in more debt than they realized, and how many people are in less debt than they realized. Because sometimes you do this and actually think, oh, it's not actually as bad as I thought. I've just been panicking about nothing. And that's a great feeling, right? But for some of you, it might be like, oh, fuck, actually, it's a bit more than I thought. I need to do a little bit more work than I anticipated. But again, it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just where you are right now. So when you know your numbers, right, when you know where you're starting from, it allows you to move things forward in a much more defined way, in a very clear way. And what you have to understand is that, what we're going to talk about all of this week is that the success actually sits in the small steps. When it comes to money, most of us don't have the ability to just wake up tomorrow and go, oh, I'm going to earn myself an extra 20 grand today. Most people don't have that ability, right? So what we have to do is work on that consistent small action. We have to activate change. We have to become disciplined in the way that we approach it. And we have to do it consistently over a long period of time to really experience the difference. And this week is the starting point for that. But what I want you guys to understand is that these little daily habits and change are what are going to lead you to the big financial changes over time. Like, I can't make you a millionaire by the end of the week unless you're already a millionaire, right? I can't do that. What this challenge is designed to do is to show you manageable steps that can be done 20, 30 minutes a day. Actually, after this week's going to be an intense week that we'll do a task a day every day. But even if you did something like this once every couple of weeks or once every month even, your long-term trajectory of change will be huge, right? So the whole point of what we're talking about this week is that small, consistent steps will activate massive change over time. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this stuff. I don't want you to look at it and think, oh God, my financial snapshot tells me that, you know, I've got no fucking money and now I feel terrified by it and overwhelmed and frightened of it. Because actually, when today's the line in the sand, tomorrow we're going to work on how to improve it. And we're going to start working on that straight away. So I want you to understand there's a lot to do, but we've put it in a way that's very manageable. So you can breathe easy and not panic. So there's a couple of things this week that I think, a couple of questions that I've already had over the course of today. And that is, what if I don't know where or how to change? Like, we've done a financial snapshot, we've completed a task, and thank you to everyone that like clicked the finish the task button today. It's really helpful for me to know who's doing what. What if we just have got no idea what to do next? You know, what if you're somebody who actually looks at their money every month and thinks there just isn't any spare, there is no leaks, I've cancelled all the subscriptions, I've done all the things that I should do, I just haven't got enough. Again, I want you to understand that this whole week, it's not just about what happens today. Over the course of the 5 days, you'll see the answers to those questions, right? So we do this in small steps. It's the same reason why our Stock Savvy program is a weekly subscription with a video training that's delivered to you once a week and an email that comes out every 2 weeks so that you can watch it, implement it, watch it, implement it, but do it in bite-sized chunks. Everything we do at Money Mechanics is about that consistent step, consistent progress. So those of you that want to know about Stock Savvy, again, a couple of you have messaged me today. On your task page, if you scroll down a little bit, Stock Savvy is the Money Mechanics subscription. It's £2 a week plus VAT. Again, there's no big pitch for this. It's there. You can know about it. You can join it at any time. And there's no contract. You join. If you get value, you'll stay. If you don't, you can leave. But basically what will happen is you'll get a training video from me once a week, and you'll get a market breakdown email from me every fortnight, which just explains a few things. So, for example, the last one was the interest rates have held. What does that actually mean to me as a normal Joe Blogs public? What happens if Donald Trump tweets a stupid tweet? How does that impact me as the individual? Like, why do I need to care and worry about those things? But in a way that's written by me rather than like by a financial like group where it's very complicated. So if anyone's interested in that, the links on your task pages, you'll be able to check that out. And I think the key to making sure that your financial snapshot informs the rest of this week, there's a couple of things that I want to kind of tell you to do and for you to really embrace them, right? You have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to show me your financial statement, your financial snapshot. You don't have to share it online. You don't have to show anyone, right? It's for your eyes only. And this whole week, by the way, I'm not going to ask you to share confidential private stuff. You can if you want, entirely up to you. But I'm not going to ask you to do that publicly and ask you to share and so forth, because we don't need to see it, right? And actually, I know for a lot of you, if you feel anything like I felt when I first did this, you will be feeling maybe a bit embarrassed, maybe a bit stuck, maybe a bit overwhelmed, maybe a bit scared of like what is potentially going to happen. Maybe you're somebody that's actually got money and great. You just want to learn how to do more of it. Having that financial snapshot is that base, that foundation to be able to go forward and move things forward, right? But not everyone will feel like that. So it's important to be honest with yourself about this stuff. It's also important to consider everything, all of the details, all of those expensive, all of those random things. And quite a few of you asked me today whether this is something that you should do individually or with your partner or individually as partners. So like you and them do your own one. Now, my answer to this question is I think there is value in you doing it individually and them doing it individually and then also doing it as a partnership. I believe in a world where everybody has financial independence. Now, I'm not talking here about complete financial freedom. I'm talking about financial independence, right? You have no idea how many messages I get, how many emails I get from people, often women, but not always women, who say to me, Sarah, I need your help with my money because I want to leave a relationship that I'm in and I can't because I can't afford to. I'm not financially independent. I don't have my own money as well as our joint money. And, you know, everyone lives their life differently, but I think it's important as human beings that we independently have our own financial stability. And then we have a collective financial stability. So actually, you can do things in your life from a place of, I want to do this thing, or I don't want to do this thing. And money is not the reason why you do or don't do it. We should be able to leave a relationship, be in a relationship, move house, change jobs, travel the world, whatever it is, because we want to, not because we can't afford not to. And that is one of the things that's so important. You know, I get messages like this all of the time. And I know, you know, I know there's people watching this who have messaged me this. And, you know, it's so important that financial independence exists for as many people as possible. I also think if you've got kids, whilst, you know, they're not going to have income and expenses in the same way that we do as adults, but helping them understand this stuff is a really, really powerful thing that you can do to set them up for the future. And one of the things I talk about a lot in the book is how you can, you know, be putting money, investing money for your children to be able to set them up for the future. But it all starts with your financial snapshot, because you can't invest what you don't know you've got. You can't start to invest if you've got less than nothing. So we need to do this task today to be able to get you to the next step. So we talked a lot about financial snapshot, income, expenses, debts and assets. These are the key things for today. And I'm going to come to questions, actually, because I don't want to keep you too much longer than an hour. So I'm going to just come to the questions that we've had, because I think actually they'll be quite important to answer them. I've seen a few of them pop up. So I'm going to work backwards because it just is easier on my screen. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments now, and I will absolutely come to you and answer them. Okay, so there's loads of people saying we're going to do our task. We understand it better. Good, 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 good. Okay, where is that first one that I saw? There's a conversation about the old hat. This is cool. Laura was on a flight home, was speaking to a chap who recommended me after we spoke about a few business things, didn't speak to my other half the whole way home. Amazing. This makes me super happy. Okay, so Diane, how long did it take you to clear 60K? 23 months it took me, from 2015 to just before the following Christmas. What else we got here? Yes, thank you, Julie. The task is to download the spreadsheet. So, would you count the equity in your home as an asset? So, I think, yeah, technically it's cash, right? So it's part of our net worth. So yes. However, what you have to then offset that with is the interest rate that and the maintenance cost that it's cost you to have that asset. So for example, let's say you've got a house that you bought for 100,000 and you've got a 5%. I mean, actually, we're looking at refinance now. We're looking at 4%, right, as the rate. So 4%. So let's say you owned that house for 10 years. You've got that 4% a year on that 100,000. So that adds up. So you've got that, plus whatever it's cost you a year to maintain that property. So let's say it's cost you, I don't know, 5 grand a year to maintain that property over 10 years. That's another 50 grand. When you sell it and you are trying to realize that equity and that cash in the bank, what we don't do on the day of transaction is look at whether or not we've actually broken even on what we've spent on having that house. So yes, the equity, we see it as cash in the bank, right? And we get that on the day. You know, if you bought a house for 100 and you pay back 100 and you sell it for 200, you get 100 in the bank at, you know, after your legals and stuff on the day you transact. But what we don't do, and this is where actually the argument comes in, what we don't do is look at whether or not actually over 10 years, we've spent 100 grand on having it. Because if we have, through interest rates, maintenance costs, legals, all the stuff, if we've spent £100,000 over 10 years to have that asset, actually all we've done is break even with the equity. We haven't actually made any money, in which case, is it really an asset? It's just a thing to ponder. Like, we as an industry, no one does it like that, right? This is just me raising questions and making you think slightly more critically about what our money actually is doing, right? Because if you've had a house that, has had a 4% interest rate, I know some people are currently on higher interest rates than that because they've had to finance in the last couple of years when rates have been crazy, and actually a lot of people aren't buying houses for 100,000, they're buying houses for 200, 500,000, right? 4% on those sorts of levels it's big money we're talking about. And yes, capital appreciation, yes, equity gives us cash at the end. But how often do people actually look at what they've spent on having that asset to create that pot of money? What have they invested to have that pot of money to create that cash? Often it doesn't outweigh. Sometimes it does, right? And in which case, absolutely, the equity in your home is an asset and it's basically cash. But if over 10 years it's cost you £100,000 to have that house and you make £100,000 profit, well, you haven't actually made any money, because maintaining it and having the interest and everything to have the loan in the first place, you've just broken even. So it's just a thing to consider on that. Justine, hello. Question for later. Knowing what you know now and what you have done with property since 2016, would you have done things differently, faster to pay off your debt, built your investments? Really interesting question. So I don't think I could have paid off my debt any quicker than I did, because I literally put everything spare into it. There was like a few little anomalies, but most things went into the debt and it was cleared quite quickly. I actually think I went all in on property and I didn't really diversify for a few years because it was what I was specializing in. I probably, again, this is not investment advice. I cannot give investment advice. That's not my skill set. I think I probably would have diversified sooner. And I talk in a lot of the trainings that I do now around the garden of growth, right? And the garden of growth, for simple, like very quick whisk through, there's 5 layers to a really well diversified portfolio, and we talk about it in the form of gardens. So the oak tree, that's property, right? In a portfolio, in a diversified portfolio, you have an oak tree, which is property. But actually getting into property is not always accessible for everybody because you haven't got the deposit or you've not got good enough credit to get finance or whatever it is. If you're starting with 50 quid, property is just not accessible. So you can start. The other 4 layers are defensive stocks to like hedge against the markets, dividend stocks so you can earn passive income, index funds, which is really diversified, and then like the sexy exotic stuff, which is like crypto and Forex, which is really high risk. But most good portfolios have got those 5 layers in them. Actually, I think I probably would have I probably would have started in the market sooner. So I wish I'd have learned about the stock market sooner. It's why I launched Stock Savvy, because I think, for £2 a week plus VAT, just to help you learn how to buy into the S&P 500 or into a dividend fund so that you're paid passive income. I wish I'd known that sooner, because I would have earned a shit ton more money than I've earned. So I would definitely change that, and I would bring in the dividend stocks and shares sooner, dividend funds sooner, and a defensive layer to my portfolio, which is like your a defensive stock basically is a stock that's been around for a long time, like a Coca-Cola is quite defensive. They're not super high growth. It's not the Nvidias of the world or the Facebooks. They're not going to do anything sexy. They're not going to give you high returns, but they're going to tick along. We are going to talk about this in loads more detail, by the way, at the end of the week. So I don't want to settle on this too much. But to answer the question, would I have done things differently? I would have diversified sooner, definitely. Okay, where are we at? How would you do this manage? Do you exclude or halve the assets? So I think you have to have that conversation in your partnership. You could do independently and just 50% it, if that's what you've agreed. But for some people, one person's put in more money than the other. You know, one person earns a lot more money than the other. It really depends. And I think, Jenna, this is a really personal, you have to ask the person that you're in a partnership with, like, how do you want to deal with it? And decide based on that. What else have we got in here? What's this say? Yeah, maintenance is a killer. And actually, when you look at what it costs to have a house and live in it, it is quite an interesting thought process. It's probably a really good way to explain it. Most people don't look at it like that because we've never been taught to. We've just been told, especially in the UK, work hard, buy a house, get on the housing ladder, and you'll be set for life. Work hard, get a good job. You go to university, get a good job, work your way up, you'll be set for life. Actually, you know, there's an argument that being mortgage free is a great thing, but there's also an argument that being mortgage free is a terrible thing. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve financially and, you know, the different parts to your money and how you're looking at it. I think money in a pension is effectively cash in a pot being worked. So yeah, I'd say that's an asset that's invested. It's getting a return. 10 years just asked about that. You know, I think anything that's generating actual cash and is adding value to your existence, financial value, obviously, not value as a human, you know, that is an asset. That is something that's adding to your resources to have it. Anyone who's not read the chapter on this in Money Mechanics, I highly recommend it because we go into a lot of detail about it. And yeah. Timothy's asked, will you do a version for this for teens in the future? Funnily enough, I was talking about this very morning. I've been asked this a lot of times now. Would I create a Money Mechanics for teens? Maybe. It's possible. Maybe. Who knows? If there was enough interest in it, maybe. It took me 2 years to write my last book. It was quite hard to get it out of my head. But yeah, maybe. Who knows? We'll see. What would a director's loan to your company be classed as? Emma, I think this depends on whether you are charging an interest rate to your company or not. Again, speak to your accountants about whether you can and can't do that. Whenever I lend money to my company, I charge an interest rate as if I was an investor. And then I get my loan back plus my interest. So I pay tax on my interest because obviously that's an income. But if it's a loan that's generating and adding to my resources to have it, then I would classify it as an asset. Yeah. Your business is also an asset, right? So if you've got a business right now, let's say you had your business valued today, what is your business worth? If someone wanted to buy it from you, what is it worth? Now, for some people, it might be worth like 500 quid. You know, my first ever business, which was a photo booth company, I ended up selling that in 2016, and we sold it and we got back the money that I'd originally invested in it. But actually, it was an asset that had some cash in it, and you know, it was great. Your business and your investment in that business, if it's adding to your resources to have it, then it's an asset. If it's draining your resources to have it, then it's not. So the answer will be dependent on the business, I guess, and whether actually it's maintaining an interest level or not. Any other questions? Is there any other questions about today's task that anyone's stuck on? I can answer for anyone. Is there any other questions in general? Some of them I'm going to say to you, we're going to cover that later in the week. But is there anything anyone else wants to ask me? We're almost at an hour, so we're pretty much there. I think the key to take away from today is that, you know, over the course of this week, we're going to add in layers to this. And there's going to be other things for you to really think about and how these things then inform the next task. I've structured it in a way. One, it follows the Money Mechanics framework that we run in the book. So actually, you know, it follows the momentum process that we run through anyway. But it's really important that we just start where we are and then we start to layer in the change. So well done to everybody who's done today's task, if you're in the middle of it. If for any reason you've not been able to open, so there's a couple of people that said they haven't been able to open the financial snapshot thing, just WhatsApp me back on WhatsApp and I can send you a link, because it was built in Google Sheets. We've sent out an Excel because most people have got Excel, and if you're on a Mac, it will just open it in numbers. But I definitely spoke to a couple of people who were on Chromebooks today, and actually neither was working. So if you need the Google version, we've got the Google version, but just WhatsApp me back and I can ping it over to you, and make sure that you've got it. So ultimately this week, anything you need during the day, other than when we're on here, just talk to me on WhatsApp. And if anybody wants to invite anybody else to the challenge or get them involved, please do. The more, the merrier. Yes, we can put the Stock Savvy link back in the comments. Shmilo, if you could take care of that for me. The Stock Savvy link also is on your task page. So the WhatsApp you all got today, that link that takes you through to where the task video is. Scroll down the page a little bit and it says, have you heard about Stock Savvy? And you can click that button. You can subscribe. It's £2 a week plus VAT. There's no contract. You'll get a video each week and it will teach you something new about investing in the stock market and becoming more confident. So if you want to check that out, you can totally check that out. I'm super pleased that you're finding this helpful. Good. Well done. We've got people working out their net worth going back 12 months as well as today. That's really good. 3.6% growth in the last 12 months. So that's the baseline to be. I love it. This is such an important thing, right? It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just where we're starting. You know, when I was £60,000 in debt, I genuinely thought I'd fucked it all up. I'd failed. My money was just going to always be a mess. Like, I just was really hard on myself. What we have to understand is often it's not our fault that our money's where it is. If no one's ever sat you down and taught you about money, no one's ever explained how debt works, no one's ever really talked to you about interest rates, cost of borrowing, how the stock market works, what compound interest is, how you can benefit from it instead of spending it. If no one's ever done that with you, don't beat yourself up for not knowing it, because we don't know what we don't know. The beautiful part is that you're here now and you're learning. And I will every single day this week and beyond this, depending on, you know, how we're connected and so on. If you follow me on socials, if you follow me on Instagram, I talk about this stuff all of the time. If you don't know what you don't know, it's not your fault that you are where you are, right? The key to this is understanding that you've already done the first bit, which is figuring out how to learn. You're starting to learn. The book this week, Stock Savvy, those of you that are going to join it, all of this is going to layer in to everything that you need to know to be able to do what you want to do with your money. Now, for some of you, it's not about becoming a millionaire, right? It's not about having loads of money. It's about just having the time and the freedom that some money creates. For others of you, it's about just clearing your debt and trying to get back to zero. You know, and for others of you, it's about you're already a millionaire and you just want to do something other cool with it. Maybe you've sold a business and you've got no idea how to invest. It doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is you start where you're at and you then activate change through intentional, consistent, small behaviors, and the future will happen. Concentrate on the components to the end goal instead of concentrating on the end goal. Concentrating on the components and the steps to get you there, and you will end up as a consequence with the goal that you've set. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Whatever you're up to this evening, make sure you get your task done. You'll all get a WhatsApp again about 7-ish in the morning. The way that WhatsApp works, it doesn't send it all to you all at once. Some of it sends it out over a period of a couple of hours. So some of you will get it at 7, some of you will get it at 9. But tomorrow morning, you'll have a link. Click the link. You'll have the resources on the page. You'll have the link to upgrade to VIP first thing, but we're going to probably switch. Will we switch that off tomorrow afternoon? It's due to go off, right? Yeah. So the VIP will switch off from tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to upgrade to VIP, make sure you do it tonight or first thing. Tomorrow night's YouTube link will be a different link to the one you've used tonight. So while you're on that page, on your task page, make sure that you grab that link. And we will be back here tomorrow at 5. If you've got any questions for the day, WhatsApp me. If there's anything else I can help you with, WhatsApp me. And other than that, I will see you on live tomorrow night. And we'll hang out and we'll be talking about a lot of money mindset stuff tomorrow. So again, another quite big day, quite a deep day, but a day that absolutely we need to cover before we can do the next bit. So thanks very much for your time this evening, ladies and gents. It's been a pleasure. I'll catch you later.